All right, you grasshopper. So I've been very lucky in my life, and in a recent life, doing my True Good Life and the book and all that kinds of stuff, all the stuff that happened to me. I've been very fortunate to meet some great people in my life and have them become friends of mine. And this gentleman right here is one of those guys. Very happy that he's in my life. Real great person, great things. Served the country. This is Kenny Bigbie Jr. Kenny Bigbie Jr. How you doing, bud?
Awesome, man. Pleasure to be with you. The honor is mine to be able to hang out with an awesome guy like you.
Yeah, all right, dude. So Kenny was in the Navy. He was a Navy SEAL. How many years were you a SEAL?
I did 4, and then I came out to handle some other business.
Okay, good. And so how many years since you've been in?
Man, April 25th, 2003 was a day.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay,
yeah.
And you were telling the story when you got out. It's, you're obviously, to be a SEAL, the training, the intelligence, the physical fitness, and all that kinds of stuff. And you were having a hard time getting a job. It's almost like you were overqualified for getting a job, right?
Yeah, that really happened. So I came out, and vets have a lot of challenges. Some of them are mental and emotional. People don't understand the price that you paid for everybody to have the experience we have in this great culture. And then one of the hardest challenges was just getting employment, because that was shortly after the 9/11, and my skills in the civilian world were IT, and skills as a SEAL were not as they were today. Nobody knew what we did. It was all clandestine. So I couldn't get what kind of job do I get? So I said, well, I'll do security for sure. A Navy SEAL can get a security job. But they're like, no, you're overqualified. I'm like, am I overqualified to eat? I just want to eat ramen noodles. Just let me stand here and make money. They were concerned I'd get bored and would lose interest.
Wow. That's something. So, and that's when you opened up your gym there, right?
Yeah, that's there was a string of events. I came out and I tried to be quote unquote normal. Okay, I was like, I'm gonna have a normal existence. And so I ended up coming out and being a server. It's the only job I could. So I went from jumping out of planes to serving people food and getting treated rudely. Yeah, it was pretty wild. And then from there, I ended up painting. And he was my good friend. And one day I looked at him and I said, hey, man, have you ever felt like you're just wasting your entire, I was sitting there stuck with the paintbrush. I was just looking at the fence and he's like, hey, man, get to work. And I was like, have you ever felt like you're just wasting your life away? Like there was something else you were meant to do? I couldn't bring myself to do it anymore. So then I ended up going down to Louisiana on contract with Templar Titan, Lou that does the swim. So I ended up shooting. That's where Lou and I met. So I ended up shooting down there because, man, we were out of work. And at the time I was looking at my girlfriend. I'm like, she can't be eating ramen noodles. I got to find a way to figure something out. So I went down there and then this guy said this to me. He says, hey, Biggs. I go, yeah. I go, unfortunately, man, I'm back in this game. I tried to live a normal life. He said, unfortunately, the life chose you. You didn't choose it. And what I ended up doing, I realized, why don't I just do what I love for a living? And that was martial arts. So then I ended up opening up the academy to help substantiate my family, meaning my mother and father, and to give back to the community. So that was the pathway from going to jumping out of planes and blowing stuff up to ending up here.
And it's true. We've talked about this before, right? It's kind of the reverse, like with athletes and with the guys in the teams, where you, at a young age, you go do this. Well, I view what you did, this glorious thing, right? The dedication, the devotion, all the things that you had to do to become a team member. And then all of a sudden it's gone. And then you got a whole life to live after that, right? So it's almost like you reach the pinnacle and now you've got to, it's just, so I'm sure there's lots of guys out there that don't, make it as well as you do, right? That can't figure it out.
Yeah, it's definitely the case. Now I think it's a little bit easier for the special forces community. Like I said, in sports, okay, the sports player gets admonition, they get admonished, and the warriors were not. It was all, you don't talk about it. So they didn't know what to do with themselves. Regardless of that, we talked about the similarities that we've had in experiences when you find a similar tribe and a similar culture of people. And then when you come out to the civilian world as a pro athlete or in the SEAL teams, where you have that level of intensity and camaraderie, and you don't find that out here, you don't know what to do at first. And people just don't amalgamate and move together like that. So you become very lost. And what I ended up having to do was recreate the environment because I didn't find it out here.
Right. Yeah. And see, I love that about you. Like one of the biggest things that I tell people all the time when I was there, when you guys did the swim across the Hudson there. So people
Yeah,
that don't know, probably was like 4 months ago, right? 4 or 5 months ago or
yeah,
longer.
yeah.
So
Around August. Yeah.
Yep. So 50 Navy SEALs with some other people involved, but mainly Navy SEALs got together, and this was the second year they did it. They swam from Ellis Island to one barge, did 100 push-ups, 22 pull-ups, 22 suicides every year amongst the military. Got in, swam some more to another barge, same thing, 100 push-ups, 22 pull-ups, and then swam over to Lower Manhattan. And it was a glorious sight to see too, because here you got these Navy SEALs that are all jacked up. They got a little pair of shorts on. They got a flag over their shoulder, and they're marching through downtown Manhattan to 9/11 Memorial. I remember watching that, and they had the bagpipes going and everything. And I had goosebumps going, man. That was
Yeah,
pretty
it was
cool.
cool. It was, and that's why we're called the Naked Warriors. We always wear Daisy Dukes, man, when we enter the water.
Is that what it is? Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
it literally we're called the Naked Warrior because they had these little bitty Daisy Duke shorts that they would wear back in the day, and they were I'm trying to think of they're khaki. So they had khaki Daisy Dukes. So that's how SEALs, they're also known as the Naked Warrior because they're always wearing these little bitty boy shorts, you know.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool. Yeah, it was funny too because I remember somebody was saying, I didn't know if it was true or not, that they're saying that a bunch of the Antifa people were going to show up. And I remember you guys all standing around the 9/11 memorial with the like. I'm thinking, there's no Antifa that's going to show up to this thing. It's
the wrong party. It's the wrong party, especially with Mitch, Big Mitch hanging out over there. I'm like, really
that's right.
That guy, bro. Yeah.
You're the same as him.
Shorts, man. They're like, we can take those guys no skimpy shorts. Look how they're dressed, you know.
Yeah. then you look at you and Mitch, and now it's a fat on either one of you too. So
thank you, bro. Cool. Thank you.
So Kenny, one of the biggest things that really impressed me about you and pretty much all the guys there that I talked to, you've done this great thing for the country, right? You've reached the pinnacle, the training that goes into becoming a Navy SEAL. But like ever since I met you, it's like you were the most how do I describe it? It's like if you ask me how I'm doing, like you actually look at me in the eye and you pay attention to what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, we don't know each other we at that time didn't know each other that much, but it was like, it seemed like you were going to live your whole life to a certain level. And that included all your interactions with all the people too. Yeah. Is that something that you really think about, or is that something that you trained yourself to be like that?
No, I didn't. It's just authentic, and they have words for it in different cultures. And I think we moved away from it in our culture, largely in part due to the technology that's supposed to bring us together. A lot of times it's created unauthentic engagements or non-holistic engagements. So for me, I genuinely am really, really curious about what the person is saying and their walk of life. Because I feel like each person that I meet, I can learn from and grow from. So having met you, in that moment, I'm just totally present. So in other cultures, that's called, for instance, in the Indian culture where they do yoga, that's called mindfulness. Because our brains, and you bring up a great point, the way that I like to put it, it is a way of life practice, and it's also just genuine because in humility, I feel like I could always grow from engaging in that other person and absorbing that other person's perspective. And it's also an intentional walk or way of life. So what do I mean by that? Your mind and body are designed for short bursts of stress. Okay, we call it eustress in the psychology, or hermesis in the fitness world. Your body can do short bursts of stress. It's not designed for long bursts of stress. Now, when we talk about stress, we're also talking about psychological stress. So in the mind, if you spend too long of your time in the past, this you can go shortly and look quickly, a glimpse. Why? Because you can look and say, that good thing happened. How can I make more of that happen? You can glimpse and go, that bad thing happened. How can I prevent that? When you get stuck in the past and stay there, it creates illnesses of the mind. So you get depression, you get sadness when you get stuck in the past, right? When you don't glimpse into the future, you go, okay, that happened in the past. How can I make this great thing happen in the near future? You glimpse in the future, but if you stay there too long, you tend to get anxious. So in our culture, we tend to live in the future a lot. Like, we gotta make this thing happen way down the road, and we're not present. I gotta make 50 million by retirement, and we're not present. And it creates illnesses in our culture. So it is both just intentional by way of life and just authentic, because I feel like I can grow from engaging each person.
Yeah. So in other words, you would believe, Kenny, then it's good then to look in the past, but quickly, right? You don't dwell on it. You look back and say, okay, either a good thing happened to me or a bad thing happened to me. Okay, now what did I do to make it be good, and what did I do to fix the problem when it became bad, right? And then move on to the future. And like you said, even with the future, if you're looking at this big task ahead of you over and over, you're going to get intimidated, right? It's just realizing, okay, there's the big goal at the end of the road there. But now I got to do that first task, right? The first task. Right?
Yeah, the whole mindset that it's literally we can't ignore it or circumvent it, because that's how the human body and the human being is designed. It's designed for a short burst of stress. Not for a long burst. Whenever you do so for instance, when you exercise, you get the hypoxic effect. So that's when you have labored breathing. When you have labored breathing, the cardiorespiratory system has to work more intensely, and the mitochondria in your cells have to work more intensely. So they have to get smarter and more efficient. Now, if you go too long without breathing, that's called asphyxiation or suffocation. Okay, you can fast your body. So when you fast, it opens epigenetic pathways that makes your body more resilient that are normally not activated unless you have the challenge of a shortage of food. If you go too long, it's called malnutrition and starvation. So the way we live our lives, we go to too many extremes and don't have balance. If you don't observe the past or study history, then you don't know how to deal with the present. If you don't glimpse into the future, you don't have a direction or a pathway to get to where you want to go, a trajectory, if you will. So you have to take short bursts, and you need to spend 80 to 90% of the time in the present with short glimpses there. Like you said, if a problem arises, I can look at the problem, and there's two sides of the coin. You bring up a really brilliant question. So I had somebody say, hey man, you disrespected me. And I said, but how did I disrespect you if it's accurate? So what do they mean? I said, well, I have to identify the problem in order for us to progress. Identification of the problem is essential. So you have people that don't want to look at the past or look at the future and identify the challenges or the circumstances. You have to know where you're at relevant to where you want to go. So first you do glimpses to get a relevant idea. But then after that, what people do is they just keep staring at the problem. You can't keep staring at the problem. Now you have to focus most of your energy. So you identify it, maybe 5%. Then you look into the future and be like, okay, here's where we're at. Here's where we want to go. We spend 90% in the present, taking present action.
That's cool. That's very cool where you said that. I'll give people an example, and we talked about this before. I think the first time we met on doing a show, I used the analogy of closing the gap. It's a hockey term, remember? And I love that. I remember watching your face when I was talking like that. It was an example of like you were paying attention to what I was saying, like you were learning, like you wanted to learn something from me. And I was like, and then we've joked about it before because it's kind of a thing for life. So what I said was, in hockey terms, closing the gap is I'm a defensive defenseman. A puck carrier is coming at me. So that's my problem. That's my concern. I've got to deal with that, right? If I don't stop him, he's going to go potentially score on our team. So if I stay away from him, I'm giving him room to do whatever he wants to do. So I have to go close the gap on him, take away his time and space so he can't do what he wants to do. And it's a metaphor for life, really, that if you have a problem in your life or something that needs to get done, the longer you stay away from the problem, the more the problem has room to grow, right? You close the gap on the problem, and now you're controlling the situation. I'll never forget you were saying that, and you were like, wow, that's cool. Like you really like that.
Yeah, that is so brilliant. And so in the SEAL teams, we do something really similar to kind of coagulate with what you're saying or jive with what you're saying. Say you get ambushed. That guy gets the jump on you. You inevitably have the situation. You didn't ask for it. This is what you got. You got a major problem and it's in your face. If you try to turn and run from the ambush, you will inevitably the probability, there's no guarantees, you're about 99% sure to just get eaten alive. So when you have an ambush, which means an inevitable problem, then with the ambush, you run straight at it, and that's your best bet to win that ambush. You run straight at it or flank, but either way, you attack the problem. From experience in martial arts and tactical training, the brilliance of what you suggest, I'm like, dude, and the framework that you laid it down, I'm like, that's so brilliant. So I that sticks with me.
That was cool. So you were the first. They had the tactical training that our buddy Will put on there in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So I was at the first one. I didn't know you were. I didn't know you were coming to the second one. Or I would have definitely showed up to the second one. But one of the biggest. So just Will was just. I don't know how much I should use of names, but Will was a team's member and he's good friends with Kenny. Great guy. He's a lawyer there in New Jersey now. As they put on some tactical training, I posted some videos on Facebook and Instagram, and I hadn't really been much of a gun guy before. I mean, I'd shot shotguns and that kind of stuff. So we show up there, and I didn't think it through. Like, we've got live ammunition, and Will says, "Okay, you, and you're going to be volunteer drivers. You, and you are going to be a volunteer tourniquet people applying the tourniquets." I'm thinking, tourniquets? That means somebody's getting hurt, right? Somebody's getting shot. And he was like, as you know, he've got to prepare. He says people get shot in training. Yeah. So it's kind of like a wake up call. Like, I was like, wow, this is a real deal. Yeah. But it was incredible. As little experience as I had with the gun, when Will got done teaching us, I felt totally comfortable with the weapon. And I felt totally comfortable, like, with everybody else too, that they really knew what they were doing. And one of the biggest things, and I'd heard you guys talk about it before, was that when you shoot your weapon, you're not shooting the weapon to protect yourself. You're shooting the weapon to protect your teammate. And he put us through a drill where there was a target, and I guess we were flanking the target. So one guy would run and I would shoot, then I would run and he would shoot. And when we got done doing it, I was so fired up when I got done doing it. I was high-fiving. It was really cool. So that's really a big part of your training, right? That's what when you do get in the ambush or the firefight or whatever, you're concentrating on protecting your teammate, knowing that they're going to protect you all the time too.
Yeah, and like we've said before in other conversations, our culture celebrates independence, but we're independent of another oppression. But we became independent from another depression through interdependence on each other. So again, in the SEAL teams, you don't ask, hey man, are you a Navy SEAL? We ask, are you a team guy? The emphasis is on team. And man, and literally when I was out there this last time, I was like, hey man, is Tom gonna be? I was asking about you, brother. So, and Brown had us do a run, the SEALs. And man, I forgot what I hadn't done it with a group of SEALs in so long. And man, dude, the fire that gets lit underneath you because you're so busy. They say, am I my brother's keeper? They have a saying, they say, mess with me and find out. When you're in the zone, when you're living your life for yourself, I believe it may have been Winston Churchill. I may have gotten that wrong, but he says, you make a living by what you get. You make a life by what you give. Mm-hmm. When you find something to give to others, you exponentially find access to resources and resourcefulness within you that you just would, and it wakes that fire up. So when your brother's to your right and left and you're fighting for a greater cause, your brother to your right and left, your country, it wakes something up in you. The resources that get activated are something you cannot find in just a selfish or narcissistic intention.
It's funny, real quick, I'll get back on it. I was thinking we were doing one exercise and Will's son was right beside me and his gun, the hot brass was discharging out of his weapon onto my back. Yeah. And he felt bad. He says, I'm sorry that I said, are you kidding me? It was unbelievable. Like it's just now, like you're in a battle, but So here's the thing. So not many people are going to get the chance to be a team's member. Not many people are going to get a chance to play professional sports and experience that teamwork that we've experienced. But like you just said, what you just said, you can still be that person that gives, and you can see how much you get back in return by giving, right? Whether it's small gestures like opening a door for somebody, or just volunteering to help them, or like you did with me, just sitting there and listening, actually saying, Tom, how are you doing? Nice to meet you. And then actually sitting there and listening. So you can really still, now it's not going to be the same level that we've had, but you can still have that same kind of mentality in your life, can't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the thing is if you literally somebody just, man, I get all kind of crazy, like people just hit me up that I don't know because of David Goggins' book, seeing us on TV. And this guy hit me up and he was like, man, I've been pushing in my life and I've accomplished a lot, but I'm not fulfilled. The fulfillment in life comes from the giving portion. When you engage with others and enhance other people's capacities, while also being able to earn income and substantiate your life. Now you can achieve a lot, but fulfillment happens from giving to others, enhancing others. And it seems like your whole mission, it feels like we jive because that's where you're at in life. And that's what really lights the light bulb underneath me. You don't have to be the person that, and I like to, you brought up another good point. You didn't become a Navy SEAL because you went through the training. You were the type of person in general, that person of that tribe that showed up, and the training allowed you to prove that you were that person. Again, the way that I like to put it, we may have alluded to this in other conversations. You didn't show up to get your gold medal, to win the gold medal on the day of the Olympic competition. You were a gold medal person on all the days you didn't feel like training, and all the days that it was tough, and all the days that you did what you had to do prior to the Olympic competition. So because you were the gold medal person, you collected the gold medal for who you were prior to showing up for the competition. So that being said, that's what you alluded to. You don't have to be a Navy SEAL, but you can be that person and gain those same, you can get the same medal of the benefits of having those character attributes, of giving to others. And in the teams, it's totally not about you ever saying that there's no I in the teams. So one of the most fulfilling elements that you felt when you're shooting that gun is when you got men to your right and your left, and it's about them, not you. There's like we said, there's a fire that's lit when you're living that life on the edge, and it's literally life and death.
I lost you a little bit there, Kenny.
So given to us where fulfillment is at.
Oh, I can't imagine
without fulfillment.
I can't imagine the adrenaline rush when it's real life and death and you're out there doing it, right? But at the same time, there's that adrenaline rush, but you've really got to control yourself, right? I mean, it's like you've got a mission to accomplish here. It can't just be this wild guy shooting your gun. You really have to have that mental focus. And for me, and I think I'm going to know the answer for you, but for me, when I'm playing in an NHL game, it was a practice that went into that, right? Just like you said, to get to that point where now you're calm, you're rational. It's almost like you've given yourself a license to be confident because you know you put the work in, right? So I'm sure it's the same thing for you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Like we talked about, you're not a gold medalist on that day. You're a gold medalist on all the hard work. That's why you received the gold medal. You earned the gold medal before you got to the Olympics. So just like you're saying, you did all this work to prepare to be ready for that moment. So you are gonna have a reaction. So I like to say, when you're trying to metabolize stress, you have to move from reaction to response. But whenever there's stress or challenge or problems in life, you're gonna react. The reaction that you have is gonna be based on the habits that you developed, who you were up until that point. So your reaction to stress and then moving into an intelligible response is totally based on all the walk of life you're doing every single day up until that point. So people think like, hey man, I'm going to perform, and you can speak to this. Guys play, I'll say half-assed in practice. Well, I'll give 100% on game day. Hey man, you're not going to have that 100% if you don't know how to get there prior to that. It's not going to show up. You're going to underperform. So in the tactical world, we say you don't rise to the level of training, you fall. So if you train at 100% under stress, you'll do 80%. So if you're in practice doing 50%, you're going to do like 30%. So you got to give it your all prior to that. You have to be the gold medalist, giving it your all every day when no one's watching. And then, like you said, those reactions pop out under duress.
Yeah. You know what's impressed me about you a lot? And it's probably one of these things that, like, I'm 62 now, and I think I'm probably in the last 5 years.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, get up there, big boy.
I think that's the first time you lied to me, Tom. Dude, wow. I'm sorry, but seriously.
I'm 25, but I think I've just finally learned this. Like the last 4 or 5 years, it's kind of evolved. I've learned how to learn, right?
Yes.
It's like, and I see that in you too, where as much as you did these great things with the teams, I hear you talk now. I think there's so many things you've learned even since then that to make you a better person, right? And I think it's important. Like because frankly, listen, I get stubborn sometimes. Like I'll use intermittent fasting as an example. I've been told about fasting for years, and no way, I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. Yeah. And now I finally realize, okay, Tom, maybe you could do some homework on it and find out what it's all about.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So now I study it. Now I fast every day. I do a 16-hour fast every day.
Nice.
So
nice.
I think that's important, right? As a person to say, listen, I don't know everything, and that's fine. I will never know everything, but to learn really makes you a better person too, right?
Yeah, we were just talking about this the other day in jiu-jitsu. The game is evolving all the time. And I said, really, at my martial arts academy, I often at times don't like to consider myself the teacher nor the leader oftentimes. They're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't have all the answers. What I'm trying to do is host a forum where we can collectively seek the answers and improve. Now, I may have the most experience, but as the leader, I'm the leader because I have the best intentions for the trajectory of the people. That's why I'm the leader. Has nothing to do with me having all the answers, because a great leader says, I don't know all the answers. And if I don't know it, we'll find a way to find that success. That's the real path of life. You never have all the answers. And you made a really great point. It's a brilliant point. Our educational system is unique. They give us answers. We get rewarded for finding just the correct answer. We don't get rewarded for problem resolution, because you'll always run into a situation where you don't have the answer, you don't have the training, there's not one out there. That's how man innovates. So again, I like to say that imitation is the lowest level of learning. You can imitate an answer. What happens when there's something that you've never been educated on? Innovation, or the ability to think and problem solve. That's learning how to learn. Really, somebody told me in class, they said, hey man, what's this, coach? How do I do this? I guess I don't know. Figure it out. He looked at me like, what the hell am I paying you for? I was like, I'm actually here to teach you how to problem solve. I'm not here to give you techniques. And he said, what do you mean? I said, you think that this technique is the answer, right? I said, but when the situation changes, when the stress changes, it's no longer the right answer. You need the relevant answer. The only answer that is the answer that creates relevance to every scenario is your ability to think and problem solve. That is the answer. Other than that, it's a temporary solution. So if you can't and learn how to learn continuously and problem solve, you're stuck. You can't grow.
I remember we talked before, and I used the term. Somebody asked me what Plan B was, and I said finish Plan A. And you were good. You were really good, because you said, yeah, that's true, Tom. But okay, so Plan A is to get from one point to the next point, let's say. Now, along the way, there's going to be some obstacles that come your way, and you've got to figure out how to get around those obstacles. It's still the same mission. You're still trying to complete Plan A, but you're going to know that you're going to have to change things. It kind of goes with what you just said right there too. So
it does. I like to call it in cohesion with what you're saying is programming your GPS. So what happens is when you program your GPS, you're at coordinate A, you need to get to coordinate B. So you use your inner dialogue, your language, your programming to enter the coordinates. So you speak, act, and move as if you're over here at this trajectory, even though you're here. Now you enter those coordinates, and it's never a straight path. There's all these obstacles that pop up, and the GPS just shifts and moves you around those obstacles and objections until you arrive to the goal. It's never a straight path. You're normally off course. I'm going north to go west. And now, there's a roadblock we didn't plan on. A wreck just happened, and now it renavigates. You never give up the end game. That's quitting. That's copping out. Okay, you never give up the end game, but you always change the plan, which is a contingency plan to continue to find your way to the end game. That's the difference between winners and people that never go forward.
That goes for everything in your life too, whether it's your relationships, your career, your education, whatever it is. That goes for all the stuff. Well, listen, so you're in Indianapolis, right? Is that where you live?
I am, man. I'm in this cold weather in the Midwest. What the hell was I thinking? A black guy that wants to swim and live in the cold. What's wrong with me, Tom?
And what's the name of your gym again?
It's called Dragonfly Elite.
Right in Indianapolis. So if anybody's in that area, or can people contact you just to get like even virtual lessons from you? Can they go online?
Yeah, we're developing videos and online curriculums and things like that. So yeah, they sure could if they wanted to have engagement on any level.
So have you got a website all set up?
They can go to Dragonfly Elite, and they can also go to KennyBigDJr.com.
Okay, good. I'm going to post that on my website too, so or my Facebook page too, so everybody's got that. Great to talk to you, but we got to do this more often. That's my fault. It's been months since we got on, so let's make a habit of doing this at least every couple of weeks. Okay.
Hey man, the pleasure's mine. Hey, I gotta. We right before we go, you got to tell the story to the people about the hockey punch. I was so impressed. Now, I'm a martial artist. I was like, bro, that is one of the best punches I've seen in my existence, bro.
Well, so my first year was 1980-81. Back then, they didn't come and tell you, like, didn't have some big ceremony, say, Tom, you made the team. It was basically, they said, okay, you can get a place to stay. So they hadn't told me yet I could get a place to stay. We'd gone through all our preseason games, and my first regular season game was in the Boston Garden. I was so nervous, I shot the puck in my own net.
Wow.
So it's one of these things, like, you go back to the bench and the coaches can't even say anything to you. Like, what are they going to say? Well, don't shoot the puck in your own net. So, I'm thinking to myself, I'm thinking all my life, I've dreamed of being in the NHL. First game, I shoot the puck. What have I done? I've screwed up my whole career. So next game, we're in Toronto, my hometown. My parents are in the building and everything like that. And so I was a big guy, big, tough farm boy and everything. And this guy right in front of our bench butt-ended me, which is a dirty play in hockey. He didn't do it like really bad, but it was right in front of our bench. Our bench jumped up there, outraged and everything. I'm thinking to myself, after last night, I cannot let this happen. So I stood up and just suckered him. The poor guy went down like a sack too, and my poor mother after the game, she was in the stands, she was so happy that her son's playing the NHL, and then she witnesses like attacking some guy on the ice. So.
Tom, I think you lifted that guy off his feet, man. You didn't tell me you could punch like a superhero, bro.
It was a left too, like I'm a righty, but it was a left that I hit him with.
What?
So I was pretty happy.
Bro,
yeah.
Straight out of Marvel Comics. Hey man,
No,
I had to give you homage and respect as a martial artist to say, brother, I got a friend. He hits real hard here, and he's Caucasian. We call him White Tyson. He's not Mike Tyson. He hit Mike Tyson, but you.
That's actually I like that. That's good. I like that, brother. That's good. Well, listen, like I told you at the start of the show, and I'll tell everybody, I've been so fortunate in my life. As time's gone on, I've gotten some great people in my life, and you are one of them. I wish we lived close to each other. We'd hang out. Maybe we'd get in trouble or something like that. But it's great to have you on the show again, brother.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure with you.
All right, bud. We'll see you soon.
All right. Later.